How's it going, everybody? Copyright infringement here. I have a few questions for you. Have the stresses of modern day life finally caught up with you? Is there a bunch of stuff that you need to get done, but your ADHD just prevents you from doing it? Have you lost your passion in the things you were once passionate for? Do you feel like your life is just falling apart around you? Believe it or not, I actually have a solution to pretty much all of those problems. The only thing you need is a GameCube. And I'll tell you why. See, if you have a GameCube, you actually have access to one of the greatest pieces of software ever created by man. I am of course talking about Pikmin. With the release of Pikmin 4 right around the corner, which I am extremely excited for, Nintendo has actually finally done something right and released the first 2 games on Nintendo Switch. So when Pikmin 4 comes out, you'll be able to play all 4 of the mainline Pikmin games on one console. So even if you don't have a GameCube, but you do own a Switch, you can still experience this game. Legally. I recognize that not everybody out there has access to a Nintendo Switch or the funds necessary to acquire a Nintendo Switch. As much as I would like to advocate for everyone in my audience to go out and legally purchase this game, allow me to offer you an alternative method to play this game. Because let's all face the facts here. This is a game from 2001. Nintendo's doing it just fine, and they show no signs of going bankrupt anytime soon. And I'm gonna be honest with you, the emulated versions of these games have a lot more going on. I'm talking things like mods, like content mods, and HD upreses, and texture packs. Not this one though. Why did I play this game with this texture pack? Jesus, it looks like there's a sharpening filter on everything. Why? Whatever. Anyway, moving on. Story. You play as Captain Olimar, a completely inept space pilot who manages to crash into an asteroid where there's literally nothing around him. Like, you can't see this coming? They even make a joke about this in the second game, where Olimar dodges an asteroid going back to the planet, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. An asteroid hits Olimar's ship, the SS Dolphin, and it tumbles onto this strange, unexplored planet. On the way down, parts of the ship come flying off and going in every which way across the horizon. You awake the next day to find the wreckage of your ship sitting right in front of you. You look around, realize nothing's around you, and uh-oh, guess what? You only got 30 days before the planet's poisonous oxygen-filled atmosphere kills you. Your ship ain't working, you don't know where you are, and there's a high likelihood that you're gonna die. Have fun! But shortly after your crash landing, you'll come across this mysterious red thing. Is it alive? Is it a machine? It's not exactly clear. But this red object does produce a single seed of a plant. And when this plant grows, Olimar, that's you by the way, feel compelled to walk up to it and press the A button or pluck it, whatever. After plucking it, you realize that the plant is actually alive. It's a little guy. He's got a nose. That's pretty crazy. What? Olimar then quickly finds out that the little red guy will follow his every instruction. So, Olimar orders the little red guy to get a thing, bring it back to the other red thing, and that makes more seeds, and as such, more little red guys. Olimar then decides that this naming convention of a red thing and little red guys is really fucking stupid, and decides to call them the Onion and the Pikmin, respectively. So that's the life cycle. The Pikmin gather nutrients from either flowers or deceased enemies, bring them back to the Onion, that makes more Pikmin, population grows. Doing that over and over then leads Olimar to discover the remains of his engine. How convenient. You get more Pikmin, you get the engine, hallelujah, now your ship can go into low orbit and get off of the planet's surface during nighttime. Which, by the way, nighttime is extremely dangerous. There's a lot of nocturnal predators on this planet, so being on the surface probably isn't a good idea. So Olimar blasts off into the sky, and the Onion follows you. Wow. I'll be honest, the moment-to-moment plot of Pikmin is pretty light. Like a lot of Nintendo games, the plot really only exists for a setup to an adventure that you're gonna go on as a player, which I feel is fine. But if you want a bit more characterization of Captain Olimar, things like his personal life, his family, has he had sex? During the course of the game, Captain Olimar will end each day with an entry into his journal. Here he'll make notes on and detail his discoveries that he's made on the planet, such as new types of Pikmin, new enemies, how to defeat those enemies, maybe thinking about strategies on how to tackle the challenges ahead of him, and also worrying about his wife and kids. meaning yes, canonically, Captain Olimar has had sex. Gameplay. Look, there's a reason why in the title of this video I call Pikmin a genocide simulator. Because depending on how good you are at this game, you'll either be genociding an entire planet's worth of natural fauna and sometimes flora, or genociding your entire party. I swear to you, the sound of Pikmin dying has been permanently etched into my brain. I will never forget this. Do you understand me? The past 20 years of my life have been full of these little bastards dying because of my poor choices as a leader. As stated previously, the first type of Pikmin that you find are the red Pikmin. And these guys are actually pretty good. First thing, they're immune to fire. That's actually a lot more useful than you'd expect. And on top of that, the red Pikmin also have a 50% damage buff over the other two types of Pikmin. All in all, they're a good workhorse type of Pikmin. They're able to handle most jobs effectively, and you pretty much always want some of these guys in your squad. I'm talking like a third or more. Red Pikmin are always useful in this game. Next up, you'll find the yellow Pikmin. Now these guys don't really seem as useful as the reds, at least on first glance. Not immune to fire, which is a downside, but their big ears having asses actually are able to catch more wind and thus be thrown higher than the other types of Pikmin. There are a few ship parts and other trinkets that you find on top of high ledges, and those you will need yellows for, but their true strength comes in their secondary ability, and that is their bomb rocks. See, across the different levels of this game, you'll find little stockpiles of bomb rocks, and yellows are the only Pikmin that can hold bomb rocks. And these things are useful and dangerous, and if you're not careful, you will kill your entire squad. And last, but kinda least, are the blue Pikmin. They can breathe underwater. Yeah, that's kinda it. See, just on the surface, you would think that being able to breathe underwater would be a massive benefit. 'Cause here's the thing, red and yellow Pikmin can't swim. Like, if they even set foot in water, they start drowning and you gotta whistle them back and it causes a bunch of stress. So you'd think that having access to these areas via the blue Pikmin would be a benefit, a massive benefit, right? Well, if you know how to exploit this game properly, and you know the ins and outs of how the engine works, you don't need a single blue Pikmin, which is just honestly kinda crazy to me. Oh, and a lesser known fact about the blue Pikmin is that they can act like lifeguards. So if you dismiss some blue Pikmin in a body of water, and other types of Pikmin just happen to run into that body of water close enough to where the blues are, the blues will actually run over and throw the yellows and reds out of the water to safety. Which is a really cool feature, but as far as I knew, the game never really tells you this. I don't think it's written in any of Olimar's logs or any of the tutorials. It's just something that you kind of run into. Which, don't get me wrong, this is a really cool interaction that the blue Pikmin have with the other types of Pikmin, but it's rarely ever that useful. I can really only think of like one area where this kind of ability is genuinely useful. Everywhere else, you can just kind of get by and not use the lifeguard ability that they have. So yeah, the blue boys, they got done a bit dirty. They're more a kind of Pikmin that you have to use rather than one that you want to use. Even with all of that, Pikmin 1's roster is actually fairly well balanced, especially if you consider the balancing of some other games in this series, but I'm getting ahead of myself again. And with these powers combined, you can take on the wide array of natural and unnatural life that just wants you dead. These include Bulborbs, burrowing Snagrits, this guy, those guys, puffy blowhogs, literal living flamethrowers, Satan in frog form, yellow version of Satan in frog form, the thing that lives in the dark corners of your room, and finally, the worst enemy in the game, the Pikmin AI.
I opened my DS once and tried to choke me.
No, you son of a bitch! I'm sorry, I just lost like 3 Pikmin.
Nice.
I was walking toward home and it was the final countdown, and these Pikmin just decided it was a good idea to stop and fucking pluck grass. Seriously, these little bastards don't really know how to stay alive. They willfully walk off ledges, refuse to avoid enemies when carrying items, and generally just can't do much on their own. And you gotta keep track of up to 100 of them. I got the perfect tagline too. Pikmin, trauma for all ages. Oh, and that reminds me. Did you know that Pikmin also came out on the Wii? Main difference being, obviously, the controls. See, in the GameCube version, you use the left stick to move both Olimar and his little aiming reticle. This control scheme, it works. It gets the job done. It's fine. Only real downside being that it just takes a bit to get used to. But on the Wii version, you control Olimar and his aiming reticle independently. Analog stick controls Olimar, and the Wii pointer controls where the aiming reticle is. Now, it might not sound like much, but I'm telling you, it drastically changes how you play this game. And honestly, it might even be a bit overpowered. So if you're new to Pikmin and you have a Wii, maybe try tracking down a copy of it. Or if you're smart, you would take the extra time to set this up on Dolphin. That's like the biggest downside, I guess, is that you need to already own a Wii remote. And I can understand that a lot of people just don't have them anymore. I think that Pikmin with the Wii remote is the objectively best way to play this game. And one thing I've actually never tried is playing Pikmin with a mouse and keyboard. So hey, maybe that can be a project for one of y'all. Maybe someone's already, okay, I guarantee you someone's already done it. All this to say that Pikmin is one of my favorite game series of all time. This particular game is not my favorite in the series, we'll get to that one eventually, but the first game is still this amazing blend of a unique setting, engaging gameplay, and trauma that I just can't help but love it. It can be difficult at times, but if you spend the time to learn the game's mechanics and learn how to maneuver your Pikmin properly, you can do a full deathless run of the game. That's more than possible. And the game is short enough to where you can clear it in like a day or two. So if you're feeling burnt out on all these incredibly long and grindy games that people are coming out with these days, it might be worth it to just go back and play Pikmin. And if you got a Switch, I mean, hey, there's really no excuse. If I'm being perfectly honest, I just wanted to try an experiment, try to do some game reviewing, talking about one of my favorite games, it being relevant with the soon-to-be-released Pikmin 4. Pikmin good, highly recommend, yes. Special shoutouts to the executive lads over on the Patreon. They help enable both my mental disabilities and my social anxieties, so really can't thank them enough for that. And if you want, I'm gonna be uploading a behind-the-scenes video on this project and a previous video that I did really soon, so get onto the Patreon and look forward to that. You also get access to videos a day early and behind-the-scenes progress reports and a bunch of other stuff. And you also get to support this dipshit, so if that's worth it to you. I also want to give an extremely special shout out to my sister Abby for not only drawing a wonderful Seth Scene Tech representation of Bizmo, but also the downright incredible art that is used for this video's thumbnail, as well as that one little tagline section earlier in the video. It turned out amazing. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.